Hello, YouTube, and hello, everyone out there in internet land or wherever you may be joining this. You could be on the forums, you could be on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. But thank you for joining this week's NFL Stableford League Power Rankings show. This is Lefty79, the commissioner of the NFL Stableford League, joining for the after Week 14 Power Rankings. Uh, wow, I can't believe we're almost to the end of another season in the NFL Stableford League, the third season proper that has gone with the actual NFL season. Uh, just another exciting week that just concluded. I'm going to give the rundown here, starting from number 32 all the way to number one, and we have a little bit of a surprise in some of these rankings this week, as I got a little bit more refined, I believe, at my choices. I think there might have been some teams that were overranked and underranked in previous weeks, but now that we're heading into the last final stretch here, I got a little bit more stringent with my rankings, and there may be some people that are going to be a little bit upset, but that's the risk you take when you make our power rankings like this. And I'm hoping everybody's doing well leading year into the holiday season. We got about a week to go. Can't believe it's almost already here. We had a 60 degree day here this week in the Midwest, which in Wisconsin, on the eastern side of Wisconsin, which is usually pretty cold around this time of the year. But it cooled down a little bit today. But yeah, it's just it doesn't feel like Christmas right now. But at the end of the day, the tree's up and everybody's ready for some time off from work as well, hopefully. But I will go into these rankings shortly here. Just want to give a shout out to everybody. I want to give a shout out to some players who have recently joined the league, uh, and those who are following on the forums and following in the Discord. You're gonna notice in the spreadsheet that there are a couple different names this week. In the last couple weeks, Sky Blue Ben has been subbing for the Dallas Cowboys, and I think I made the decision this week that I think I'm going to have him just sign on for the rest of the season. He does a great job buying into the concept of the league, and I know he gives me a lot of compliments about the league. And I know, Ben, I really appreciate the effort that you give for the league, and I know you were watching from afar the past few months, and I know you kind of regret the decision not to stay with it, but at the same time, everything has a funny way of working out, and now you're back in the league. So I'm glad to have you, and I know Pies Scott's been going through some stuff, and I hope everything gets sorted out with him soon. I really do have a place for him going forward with anything that happens going forward after this season. But I know he understood, that we had to keep the train moving, and I just know with all the stuff that's going on in the world, I want everybody just to know that I'm an open line of communication. If you ever have any concerns or anything that you have going on, just let me know so I can make an arrangement or just find somebody else to play. I know there's a lot of people that uh, have reached out, and some people are just oh, they're full. What's the point? Well, I'm always looking for new people, and every league like this has some turnover. And for those, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I wasn't recruiting, because usually we always are recruiting, because you can always count on at least 10% or 5% not coming back. Usually that's the rule. Kevin knows this as well from Happy Tea Friends. The Brew Crew knows this. I mean, you don't always retain everybody. The leagues that do, those are the leagues that are special. Leagues like 24 Karat Gold that had great participation year in and year out, even had turnover. But speaking of 24K Gold, that society is kind of the reason why I started this. The Money Man was a very big inspiration to me, And I don't think I ever gave him enough credit for running a society the way he did. And I know a lot of people like mention him in just in passing at times, and I know I've thought about him a lot in terms of just how he was as a guy that ran a society like what we're doing here. And I guess there's really no right way to run a society like this, and I know there's always things that can be improved on, and there's always things that can be changed, but I try to keep it fresh year in and year out, and I know that's what the Money Man did, and I kind of want to try to find a way to incorporate some of the people from the past if possible. But if not, that's okay too. I mean, some people just have moved on, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I never really mentioned Money Man too much in my shows going on this year, and I just kind of wanted to I just thought about him today, and I'm like, yeah, if it wasn't how did he get through so many seasons? And this thing just took on a life of its own, and it just keeps on rolling. And so yeah, just a guy from the past that I wanted to bring his name up. And I know they play Friday nights yet, and I know this is like a big night for them because they usually play their alt shots. And so I just wanted to give a quick shout out in case somebody ever, someone relays this to him. Just tell him thank you because he pretty much was my inspiration for running my own society, and he was a huge help in getting players for me my first year, and I just want to thank him for that. I don't think I ever thanked him as enough because it's just so hard to retain people, and we already lost another player today. The Chicago Bears owner Sam Pond has left, and I am looking for a player. I did reach out to one person, but it's really late notice, and so if I don't hear back, uh, I understand. But I really don't like taking zeros. But I understand if something comes up and it happens, you got to do what you got to do. So with that being said, we had another new player join, Zuby, Randy. He actually plays in the Brew Crew, but he's a big fan of the Master difficulty, and he asked about signing up about a week or two ago. I think Ben kind of started a trend there by spreading the word around a little bit about the NFL league. So Randy joined. He's the new Philadelphia Eagles owner. So everybody, give him a shout out. I know he just posted his score, uh, and I really do appreciate him coming on board. But yeah, the Bears is open as of now. I just found this out literally like minutes before coming on air here. So if anybody knows somebody that's looking to get in the league for the last few weeks, I would really appreciate if you could spread the word, or if you know of somebody that was for sure looking to get on a team, just send them my way, and we'll make arrangements and we'll get them going right away. But with that said, I took a lot of time here on my intro. But I do want to mention that with everything going on right now, I really am thinking about keeping things going for another side season, like in between uh, now in the summertime. I'd like to try to do something in the spring, and that would probably correspond with the USFL. So uh, that would be a 10-week season with like a couple weeks of playoffs. If you're interested in staying on, I will probably be asking people at the end of the season what the status would be if they would continue to want to play in this society with these settings. It would be the same format in terms of handicap and in terms of Hail Marys and whatnot, but it'll be a little bit of a different format. I'm thinking of doing a team concept with four-player teams again because I thought that was really fun. I think everybody enjoyed the Rumble, which I thought really went over well. The USFL only has 8 teams, so the power ranking show won't be quite as long. But there are 4 players. There would be 4 players on a team, and we would probably do some sort of a draft, similar to like what Happy Tea Friends does. But I think this draft will be a little bit more open in terms of who you can pick. I probably won't tier it down to like 4 tier levels or anything like that. I might just name random captains based on maybe who you're already controlling as your NFL team, because I know there are some USFL cities in the same region as the NFL. But we would be doing home and away courses, and I would probably do tour worthy courses again that were released after September of 2021. So I'm trying to find some new courses, maybe get some new courses out there for people to play. And the format would be 4 players, and you would each play a pin set. So for your game, first quarter would play pin one. One player would play pin one would play pin two, three, and then four, and you would play 4 quarters. And what I would do is add up your best 9 with your handicap, add the 4 best 9s together, and probably subtract it by a number to get it to more of an NFL type score, football type score. I was thinking of going off of 70 because an NFL game, the most possible minutes you can do is 70 with handicap or with overtime. So say you score like each guy gets like 25 points, that's 100. You minus 70 and your score would be a 30, and that would be with handicaps all included. So that's my concept that I'm thinking of doing for spring. So there will be a break though. I won't do that directly after the season's over because I'm gonna have to try to do some recruiting. I'm probably gonna do a draft. Uh, Gotta create some assets probably for the new league spreadsheet, of course. So, but I'll be working on that. But I'd like to just get through this season first. And I know right now with all the stuff going on in the world, the NFL's running into it too. So, and I know I just want to get through this through the holidays, and hope everybody just can get through their games. And even if you're playing for nothing, just please play it out. It doesn't mean a lot to me if you do play it out, because I know after this week some teams are going to be eliminated, and that's unfortunate, but it is part of the league. So, and I know I'll be probably out soon enough as well, unfortunately, but we'll get to that later. But I'm going to run through these pretty quickly as I am on a little limited time here. But we're going to start with number 32, and that's the Tennessee Titans, who are 3-10, number 16 in the AFC. Platypus Brigade. Matthew is six spots down this week from number 26 after losing at home to Jacksonville 28-23. Uh, I'm not gonna say that's a wrap, but I think it's kind of a wrap after that loss. That was like the one chance the Titans had to probably make up any ground in their division, and I think that was about it. They're gonna have to play at Pittsburgh next, who's 7-6, and that's gonna be a tough task right there. And unfortunately, it just didn't come together for the Titans this season. And I'm not going to give them a post-mortem in this show, but I think what I'll say is that I really appreciated the effort on Twitch every week. Um, and the 6 spots dropping, it's just because everything was kind of. I think the rankings in the previous weeks were probably not reflective of performance, and I just think with the overall performance of the team, the Titans get the 32nd spot. And mainly it's because they lost to the team that's at number 31, and that team is the Arizona Cardinals, who check in at 3-10. They're number 16 in the NFC. Art Vandelay, 6 spots down from last week at 25. Definitely showed some heart last week in getting that win, but then kind of came back down to earth at home, which has been a struggle all year long, and especially against their division foes, as they lost at home to the Rams, 26-24. Tough loss. That pretty much knocks them out of wild card contention, in my opinion. I mean, right now they're mathematically right on the edge, as it's 4 games to go, and 7 wins is the wild card in the NFC. The Titans are basically playing for their division yet, and there's still a very slim chance of that continuing. But I think after this week, we'll have a little bit more clarity. But next, the Cardinals will play at Detroit, uh, who are 7-6, and they're playing pretty much for pride there. We'll see if the Cardinals can put something together in the Motor City. Otherwise, it's looking like they'll be home for the playoffs, which after last season's division title, maybe a little bit disappointing, but there's always next time. There's always next season, and I already outlined a little bit of what's going on with that, and hopefully Art, dust himself off, and he can at least say that he's not the chancellor of the cellar this week. He's one step above. As we now go to number 30, it's the Indianapolis Colts, who are 3-9-1. They're number 15 in the AFC. Ben's up one spot this week from number 31 after a bye week. So they'll next play against the New England Patriots, who are 9-4 at home. The Colts are winless in their last five, and that's pretty much the story of their season right now. They're going to have to beat New England if they're going to have any chance to make any sort of a run to their division. Paul's at 7-6 right now with the Texans, and I believe the Texans have the tiebreaker as well. So I think this is just playing it out for pride for the Colts. Really appreciate B-Mel's being in the league. He brought in some players from the Run Bad tour, and I really appreciate those guys. Chinatown, Platypus Brigade, and I know Zucchero was one of them as well, but yeah, he left. But really appreciate him bringing in some Xbox guys, as that really kind of made it fun for the league to see how those guys would perform. And unfortunately for the Colts, this is looking like uh, the end of the ride for them. But they still can play spoiler, and they'll try to do that this week at home against the Patriots and the blind man Franz. As we go to number 29, sorry Franz, I know you're not really blind, but you always call yourself the blind bat. As we now go to number 29, it's the Seattle Seahawks of Chris, who are 3-10. They're number 14 in the NFC. Uh, Pretty much out of it here, but they are not changing this week. They stayed the same at number 29 after losing at Houston in a very big shock, 33-20 to Paul, which Paul was just on another planet in that round, in that game, and there's just nothing the Seahawks are going to do there. Uh, so basically, it's pretty much the end here for them, as they will now be playing spoiler at the LA Rams, who are 8-5. The Seahawks have lost their last three. Such a promising start to the season. I thought they were really going to put together a solid. I thought they were going to at least try to be in the hunt here toward the end, but I think tempo issues and other things kind of got in the way, and just I'm telling you, this transition from tempo from master to pro, it's not for everybody, and that's why I'm giving some people some time to reevaluate. If they want to continue playing in the league, that's up to them, and that's why I'm not pressuring anybody. And every decision is on your free will. I'm not going to be the one to say, hey, I need you back. It's just, it's one of those things where I think master difficulty to me, it just is a show of this is what the game I think was meant to be played on, with par being actually something that matters and not 18 under every round. So I mean, just to me, it's just the mechanic of the game that I feel that it's just. I mean, but you're gonna still have guys that are gonna ace it every round. Where we had a round this week where a guy birdied every hole on one of the nines, and you can get hot in master level. So, but unfortunately, not everybody has the time, and me included, to put that type of work in practice. So I understand if the struggles happen, and at the end of the day, I'm just glad that Chris is in the league and he's a trooper, and I really appreciate that. As we now move up to number 28, it's another guy who's been in the league from the beginning, Polecat and the Carolina Panthers, 3-10. They're number 15 in the NFC, and they finally were rewarded with a win at home against the Falcons, 23-21. The Panthers are up 4 spots this week, and next they'll play at Buffalo, a team that's really leaking oil right now, who are 7-6. So the Panthers could really put a huge monkey wrench into the Buffalo Bills' hopes right now, as they're really struggling. But the Panthers, kudos to them for getting on the board with another win. 3-10 is the lowest, is the low water mark for the league, and we had teams in this league that only had one win. So a team with 3 wins being the low water mark, to me that tells you that the handicap system did work. Some teams did definitely benefit from it more than others, but I wouldn't change a thing about it. And I'm happy to see that the Panthers were able to salvage another win this season. As we now go to one of our new guys, in number 27, the home of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. It's the Cowboys at 4-9, number 13 in the NFC. Sky Blue Ben, one of the only team to move up 3 spots from number 30 after losing at Washington Football Team 28-27. I think the record speaks for itself here. I think that's why they moved up, and also the fact that they gave the WFT a pretty good game on the road, which is not easy to do. And I just think that the Cowboys look like a little bit different of a team now with Ben running the show, and they got that offense going a little bit, so that was good to see. They have lost their last 2 games, so they probably were a little bit underranked coming into this, but I think they're in the right spot now, and now they'll be playing at the New York Giants, which, pack a lunch for that. That's going to be tough. As they're 11-2, and Don is not showing any signs of slowing down. But the Cowboys are reinvigorated, it seems, at number 27. As we now go up to number 26. It's the New Orleans Saints, who are 4-9. They're number 12 in the NFC. Greg McMillan down 2 spots this week for number 24 after losing at the New York Jets 23-20. Just couldn't get anything going on the road. It's kind of the story of the Saints season right now. It seems like they take 1 step forward and then they take 2 steps back, and it's just been kind of how they've become a 4-9 team this year. But they have a chance here to make some noise in that NFC South as they now play at Tampa Bay, who are leading that division at 7-6. So you don't want to pack the tent in yet. If you're the Saints, as you still have a shot here with 3 games. You're 3 games behind with 4 to play. So we'll see if the Saints can march up the standings this week. But they're going to have a tough matchup at Tampa Bay. So we'll see if they can get some divine intervention here and maybe move up the standings and in these rankings. As we now hit the top 25, let's find out who we got at number 25. It's the Atlanta Falcons of Allen Ruby, 5-8, number 11 in the NFC. They're down 4 spots this week for number 21 after that tough loss at Carolina, 23-21. They've now lost their last 2 games and are losing ground in the NFC South by the week, as they're now 2 games behind the leaders in the clubhouse here. As the Falcons were leading that division not too long ago, and now it just seems like they've taken a turn. They've started to go south here for the winter, like many birds do. And unfortunately, the Dirty Birds now, the task doesn't get any easier as they're going to head out west at San Francisco, a former division rival back in the old days of the NFC West from years ago. It's a 10-3 San Francisco team that they're going to get to play next, who are coming off a loss, and they're going to be very motivated. So we'll see. This is kind of the Falcons' season on the line here, season on the brink at number 25. As we now move up to number 24, and we go to another bird team right next door. It's the Philadelphia Eagles, 5-8 at number 10 in the NFC, of Zuby. It was Zucchero, but we go from Zucchero to Zuby, as that worked out pretty well. As they're up 4 spots this week after their bye week. I think they were really underranked after last week's goose egg, and next they will be playing the Washington Football Team at 8-5. So that's a division game for the Eagles, and that's going to be one way that they're going to have a chance to somehow stay relevant in the playoff pictures if they can beat the football team and stay alive. But right now they've lost their last 6 games, and right now it's really kind of put up or shut up here. And Zuby's walking into a really tough situation as a interim head coach here, interim owner. We'll see if he can pull out one here in his debut week, as there has been a history of some debut owners coming in and getting a win. But it's really tough, especially when you're playing a team against like Washington, who especially is not easy any week. So we'll see if the Eagles can pull one together and find a way to stay alive in the playoff picture. As they're pretty much, we know they're out of the NFC East, but they still have an outside shot at a wild card, as there are still 4 games left with a 2-game deficit. As we now move up to number 23, a team that's been hit pretty hard with Omicron this week, or Omicron. It's the Cleveland Browns at 5-8. I think that game's getting delayed to Monday now, is what I heard. But they will be playing the Las Vegas Raiders at some point this weekend, or this week. But they're 5-8, and they're number 14 in the AFC. So the 14th ranked team in the AFC is ranked 23rd in the rankings. That's not too bad, but that just shows how tough the AFC is. And Mav Hockey Tim is down one spot this week for number 22 after losing at home to Baltimore 28-23. They lost their last 5 games now, but I think a lot of those games, 2 of them were against Baltimore, which, that's a tough team, and a lot of them have just been really nip and tuck games, and I think that's why the Browns are rated as high as they are. And now they'll get to play at home against the Raiders, who are 5-8 as well. So this is kind of like an elimination game for them. Uh, the AFC right now, the 8 wins is a playoff team, so they're 3 games behind with 4 to play. So I think it's safe to say whoever loses this game between the Raiders and the Browns is probably going to be watching the playoffs on TV. So we'll find out what happens this week as we now move up to number 22. Try to move along here as we go to Kike at number 12 in the AFC. The Chiefs at 6-7. They're down 3 spots this week for number 19 after losing to the Raiders at home, 25-23. That's a tough loss there, as that kind of really put a wrench in the Chiefs' plans for the playoffs. Kind of knocks them out of the AFC West, but it also really put a hamper on their wild card hopes, as they will now play at the LA Chargers, who are 9-4. The Chiefs have now lost their last 2, so they're trending in the wrong direction, and they're going to look to try to turn things around, and maybe get back some ground that they have given up the last couple weeks. But we'll see if the Chiefs can do that. They still have a shot. They're not out of it yet, and they're just going to have to start this week, as another team in that same situation at the same record is right above them at number 21, and we'll find out who that is. It's the Green Bay Packers at 21, number 8 in the NFC, 6-7 record. I'm down 3 spots this week after losing at home to Chicago, 23-21. Been a trend, losing at home, not really what you want to be doing. It's just happening that way though. The Packers just aren't getting that home cooking that they need to be getting, and now they are going to go on the road at Baltimore. Oh boy, that's not going to be an easy task, as they're 9-4 and are very tough wherever you play them. So the Packers have lost their last 3, and they're going to look to try to turn things around. It's getting late though, and we'll see. After losing to a division rival, they're probably on life support right now in terms of the playoffs, and the Ravens could be the last straw if they don't pull one out there. As we now move up to the top 20, a team we just mentioned in the intro, who is looking for a new owner, it is the Chicago Bears at number 20. They're 5-8, coming off that win at Green Bay. They're number 9 in the NFC. Riotous, well, now it's to be determined, is up 7 spots because of that win. It jumped them over the Packers in the rankings. So they were 27th, and now they're 20th. They won at Green Bay 23-21. Big win there to keep their hopes alive in the wild card race and in the division race, as that division is still not clinched yet. But next they'll have a chance to do something about it and stay in that division race by playing at home against the Minnesota Vikings, who are 8-5. So the Vikings are 8-5. That means they're 3 up on the Bears with 4 to play. So whoever takes over the Bears this weekend, I'll give them probably an extra day to play. Whoever decides to take them over, reach out to me. I did reach out to one player who was on the waiting list, but I'm not sure I'm gonna hear back. So we'll see. This is gonna be the wild card. Literally, what's gonna happen? Nobody knows because nobody knows who's gonna show up for the Bears. So we'll find out as we now move up to number 19. Let's find out who we got. It's the Las Vegas Raiders. They're up. They're up 4 spots this week at 5-8. They're number 13 in the AFC. Chinatown had a big win at Kansas City, as mentioned earlier, 25-23. And next they'll play at Cleveland in that big 5-8 showdown. The Raiders have won their last 2, so they definitely got momentum on their side. It's just a matter of can they keep it going on the road. And they just won at a tough spot, at a tough place at Arrowhead. Next, they get to go to the dog pound, so it doesn't get any easier. But we'll see if the Raiders can do it. Otherwise, it's looking like they'll be walking the plank if they don't. As we now move up to number 18, and a team that's kind of struggling right now as well. We mentioned them a little bit earlier. They have a mafia behind them. It's the Buffalo Bills at 7-6. They're number 10 in the AFC, and Patrick is down 6 spots this week after losing at Tampa Bay 28-23. I really thought the Bills had a shot there, but Tampa Bay just really brought it at home, and they're tough when they get on a roll. And at the end of the day, the Bills now will be playing at home against the Panthers, who are 3-10. The Bills have lost their last 2. They're out of the playoffs right now, if the playoffs were to end today. But there's still 4 games left to play, and if they can get on a roll late here, they have a shot. There's still only 1 game out in the playoff picture in the AFC wild card. The AFC East is probably going to be a little bit of a different story, as I do not believe they really have any tiebreakers in that division. So they're probably going to be relying on the wild card. So we'll see if the Bills Mafia can replenish their table supply and find some RVs to jump off in the parking lot against that Panthers team and cause some havoc at home in Orchard Park. And if they can, that's a good start, because then they'll be right on their way towards possibly a wild card berth. But we'll see what happens as now we move up to number 17. It's a team in turmoil, but not anymore, as they are now 6-1. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars of Corey, who are number 11 in the AFC right now. But they're up 3 spots this week from number 20 after they won at the Titans 28-23 on the road, and now they've won their last 2 games, and they're looking to hope they're gonna hope that continues, as the Texans are now coming into Duval at 7-6, and this is pretty much for the division. If the Houston Texans win that at Jacksonville, that's probably a wrap on that AFC South. But stranger things have happened, and the Jaguars are a tough team in this league, and their coach in this league has a lot more job security with having turned this thing around in the last couple weeks. So we'll see if the Jaguars can keep the redemption tour going here, as they have definitely climbed back up to relevancy here in the NFL Stableford League. But in real life, they're down in the dumps. So this is a totally different scenario here. I can see the Jaguars pulling this one out. getting right back into the lead in that division. But we'll see. Paul's not going to relinquish that after that 33-point game. Paul's definitely not going to go quietly. As we move up to number 16, and we're right next door to the New York Jets at 7-6. They're number 9 in the AFC, and David has got them playing some really good Stableford the last 3 weeks, as they've won their last 3 games. They're down one spot in the rankings, primarily because of some of the shuffling that went on with some of the teams above them. They won at New Orleans. They won at home against the Saints, 23-20. Wasn't really that impressive of a win, but it was a win nevertheless, and it kept them alive in the playoffs and in their division, as they now will be playing at Miami. The co-leaders, well, actually, they are the leaders of that AFC East right now. So the Jets can definitely have a direct impact on their division this week, as they will be at the Dolphins, who are 9-4. Don't know what Dolphins team is going to show up for that, and the Jets could definitely take advantage of that aspect if they can just keep playing solid. But as it is, they are definitely right. The Jets are definitely soaring right now. They're moving up these rankings, seemingly week by week. This week they took a step back, but that was because of all the shuffling around them. But they're right on the outside of the playoffs, and they could be definitely, after this week, finding themselves singing. They could be moving up a little bit and singing a little bit of a different tune. So we'll see what happens. As we now move up to number 15, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers of Pat Strife, who are 7-6, and they're number 8 in the AFC, out of the playoffs right now after dropping 7 spots in the rankings here from number 8. Big drop for them after losing at Minnesota 32-29. The defense the steel curtain was penetrated pretty heavily in that game. They just couldn't really do anything about that Vikings performance. But we'll see. It could be a slight, that could have been just an anomaly there. But the Vikings just came to play, and there's really nothing the Steelers could have done about that one. But they can turn things around right away as they host the Titans at 3-10. This is a get back game for the Steelers to try to get back into the playoffs. They're in the AFC North, and that's probably a runaway right now for the Bengals. So they're going to have to rely on a wild card. So we'll see if the Steelers can do that going forward here, as we now move up to the number 14 team. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of Brandon, who are 7-6. They're number 4 in the NFC. They're up 3 spots this week from number 17. They won versus Buffalo 28-23 last week. Big win over Bills Mafia there. And next they will be playing at home to the Saints, who are 4-9. The Buccaneers now have won their last 3. They're looking to keep that going at home, and the Jolly Roger is going to be firing the cannons. I'm sure plenty in that one. So we'll see if they can keep the Saints out of the win column and take one more step towards clinching that NFC South. As we now move up to number 13, lucky 13, who is it? Well, it's somebody that we mentioned a little bit earlier. It's the Houston Texans of Paul, the Taft Man, who are 7-6 at number 4 in the AFC. I think this is their highest ranking ever, as they're up 3 spots from number 16 after that big win at home against the Seahawks, 33-20 last week. And now they get to prove it again at Jacksonville, who are 6-1. And the Texans have won their last 2, but this is probably arguably their game of the year so far, as they will now have a shot at putting down the Jaguars and taking another step towards clinching an AFC playoff berth and clinching that AFC South. Big game here for the Texans. I know the Taft Man is up for it. He plays in high pressure environments all the time on Friday nights, and I think that experience and him playing really well on master difficulty is going to serve him very well. So we'll see if the Texans can keep on rustling up some wins. As we now move to number 12, And another big dropper this week, as they like to say on the countdown, it's the Mile High Denver Broncos, who are not feeling that way this week after losing at home against Detroit 28-25 last week. Austin is 8-5, number 7 in the AFC, so still in the playoffs, which is a positive. But they dropped 7 spots in the rankings from number 5, and now we'll be playing at home to the Bengals, who are 10-3. So this is a statement game coming up for the Broncos. Are they for real, or are they going to be a one and done in the playoffs? We'll find out. As the number 7 team in the AFC, that's going to change. That's a precarious position right now, as there's lots of teams knocking on the door to try to get that 7th spot and get that wild card berth, and get that opportunity to play against the Dolphins, which could be vulnerable as a number 2 seed in the AFC. So we'll see what happens here for the Broncos, but the Bengals are not going to be an easy opponent, and they're going to have their work cut out for them this week after losing at home to Detroit in a game that they probably might look back on if they do not make the playoffs. So we'll find out, as a team that is now at number 11 is the team that just defeated the Denver Broncos. They are the Detroit Lions, and this team is roaring back towards the top 10 as they're number 7 in the NFC. But CF is up 2 spots this week at 7-6. Uh, Making a great run here toward the end of the season is what you want to do, as they just beat the Broncos 28-25 and now have won their last 2 games and are now going to play the Cardinals at home, who are 3-10. So can't look past the Cardinals. They are capable of putting up a big performance at times, but right now the Lions got to be feeling pretty good about themselves right now, as they are definitely, they're only 1 game out in the NFC North, and they are in the wild card right now. So, and with the Arizona game on tap, things are looking pretty good for them. But they're not out of the woods yet. There's still 4 games to play. But at the end of the day, the Lions, about a month ago, we were thinking what was the problem with them? They were out to lunch, but now the Lions are right there and heading into the top 10 and making a big run. As we now hit the top 10, and who will it be at number 10? It's the Los Angeles Rams of Kevin, who are 8-5, number 6 in the NFC. So just 1 spot above Detroit. They're up 1 spot this week in the rankings after beating Arizona at the desert 26-24. And next we'll be playing the Seahawks at home, who are 3-10 in another divisional matchup. This is big for the Rams to get that win at Arizona, and now they'll have another shot to gain another game in the wild card standings against the Seahawks, who are struggling right now. Kevin is playing solid right now, and got to give him a lot of credit for that. Uh, had a little bit of a stumble earlier, a few weeks ago, but now they have recovered pretty nicely, and they're now in the top 10 and looking pretty good for a playoff spot. As we now move up to number 9, we have a team that took a little bit of a drop this week, the Los Angeles Chargers at 9-4. This was a team that was at number 1 for a time, and they're now number 3 in the AFC. Mike is down 5 spots this week from number 4 after losing at home to the Giants 28-24. Not really what you wanted there. The Giants are tough, but you had a shot at home on your home turf to maybe knock the Giants out of their number 1 spot, but they just weren't able to do it. And with some of the other shuffling that's been going on in these rankings, the Chargers are one of the teams that really took a shot. So now they're down to 9 in the rankings, but they're still in a good spot. They're leading the AFC West, and now they have a divisional rivalry matchup at home against the Chiefs, who are struggling at 6-7. So the Chargers are also losers of their last two. So right now, it's two teams that are really struggling in the AFC West that are going to match up in LA. So we'll see if the Chargers can electrify their fan base and get back up to where they belong here in the rankings, as they're starting to take a little bit of a tumble here. But right now, their playoff chances are still pretty good. As we now move up to number 8, it's the Minnesota Vikings of Andrew, who are 8-5, number 3 in the NFC right now. They're up 6 spots this week, so they were a big riser this week, a big gainer, as they beat Pittsburgh 32-29 at home. That's the reason why they jumped so high, folks, because they took a team like Pittsburgh and really put a big score on them. So kudos to the Vikings for that. They're the leaders in the NFC North right now by a game over the Lions. So that was a big win in more ways than one, just to keep pace ahead of the Lions. But now they'll be playing at Chicago, a team without a coach right now, at 5-8. So that's a pretty good situation for the Vikings going on the road, as they're going to be playing an interim head coach who has really no experience playing at the field that they're going to be playing at. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But we'll see if the Vikings can take advantage of it. Sometimes a wounded animal can fight back, and the Bears right now look to be a wounded animal. So we'll see if the Vikings will continue to be the leaders in the NFC North after this week, as those Lions are coming on pretty strong. As we now move up to number 7, it's the Washington football team. Look out, they're moving right back up this list, up these power rankings, as they're 8-5 now. Number 5 in the NFC. Zach is up 3 spots this week for number 10 after beating the Cowboys at home 28-27 in Week 14. Next, they'll be playing at Philadelphia, who are 5-8 and now under new management. We'll see if the football team can take advantage of that. But they will be playing on the road, so they don't want to look past the rookie head coach there, as you never know what's going to happen in the first game of a new tenure of a new coach. So we'll see what happens. But right now, the football team are looking pretty good for a wild card. The division's probably out of reach if Don just keeps winning. But they're 3 games behind in the division with 4 to play. So realistically, it's looking like a wild card or bust for the football team right now. But we'll see if they can keep that momentum going after that win against Dallas. As we now move up to the top 6, and the number 6 team, it's Franz and the New England Patriots at 9-4. They're number 5 in the AFC. Franz had a bye week, so they moved up 3 spots despite not even having a game. So you gotta love that. There's just been a lot of shuffling going on in these rankings this week. So next, the Patriots will play at Indianapolis, who are 3-9-1. That's a big game coming off a bye. 2 teams coming off a bye. So which team will be less rusty will be the one that wins that one. The Colts are just playing for pride pretty much at this point, whereas the Patriots are looking to keep pace in the AFC East and stay in that wild card picture as well. The AFC, it's changing every week in terms of what the playoff teams are. So you just want to keep winning until the end of the season if possible. But we'll see if that will continue for the Patriots. As we now hit to the top 5, who do we have? It's the San Francisco 49ers of Jason, who are 10-3. Number 2 in the NFC after that big loss at Cincinnati, 28-24. They dropped 3 spots in the rankings from number 2. That game against Cincinnati, that was the battle of the top seeds, and unfortunately, it did not go the 49ers' way, unfortunately for Jason. But at the end of the day, it was one game, and that was basically a huge bragging rights game. and the home team won, and there's really not much you can say about that. But the Cincinnati Bengals have been impressive all season long, and there really was no shame losing that one because it looks like the 49ers are going to be the NFC West champions, barring a major collapse. But they probably have a wild card already locked up for sure. Uh, but the division title would probably be nice as they will be able to host the first round playoff matchup. And the higher seed you are, the more likely it will be that you'll get to host a divisional game as well. So as we now look at their next week opponent, it's the Atlanta Falcons at home, who are 5-8. So the 49ers don't want to have a hangover from that loss at Cincinnati if they can help it. But the Falcons are really fighting for their playoff life as well. So we'll see if the 49ers get back on the winning track or if that loss to Cincinnati was a harbinger of things to come. Uh, I think it's going to be. I think they'll get back on the horse here after that loss. But that's just my opinion. So we'll find out as we now head to number 4. It's the Miami Dolphins of Cade, who are 9-4. Number 2 in the AFC after a bye week. They move up 3 spots, so you gotta love that. Didn't have to play, and you still moved up. But now you're gonna have to play the Jets at home, who are a division rival that goes way back. And the Jets are 7-6, uh, and they're playing for their playoffs right now as they're on the outside looking in. I expect nothing less than a typical AFC East battle, especially in Miami. I think the points are going to be flowing down there in South Beach or Miami Gardens, and we'll see if Cade can keep the good momentum going and stay in the lead in that AFC East because there's a lot of you got the Patriots right on their heels and they're just waiting for one slip up from the Dolphins. But we'll find out. Cade's been very resilient this season and has bounced back from some really tough situations and basically controls his own destiny here, to use a cliche that gets thrown around a lot in playoff time. But now we head to the number 3 team in the power rankings this week after week 14. A team that I'm going to get to play this week. It's the Baltimore Ravens at 9-4. Eddie is number 6 in the AFC, but don't let that fool you, as they're up 3 spots in the rankings this week after winning at Cleveland. That AFC wild card is a battle. I mean, it's a 9-win team is only in the wild card. That's nuts. And the Ravens have been proving it week in and week out how tough of a team they are, and they've beaten some really good opponents this year, including the Bengals. But right now, they will be playing a team that's been really struggling lately, and that's the Green Bay Packers at home, who are 6-7, and are probably playing for their playoff lives as well. So we'll see if the desperation of Green Bay is able to do anything to dissuade the Ravens from keeping on their winning ways. As right now, Baltimore is looking really good for at least a wild card berth, but they're hoping that their division rival slips up at some point. Because right now, at number 2, you have the Cincinnati Bengals at 10-3, the number 1 team in the AFC. After beating San Francisco last week, Jason is up 1 spot from number 3 to number 2. And next they'll be playing at Denver, who's 8-5. The Bengals have won their last 3 games, so they're really rounding into form nicely here as they head toward the end of the season. They lead the AFC North, and right now they have a tough matchup coming up on the road. If they can beat Denver on the road, that's going to be a huge feather in their cap, as I could see the Bengals just running it off the table and then taking that division and getting that first round bye. That's really the goal right now for them. And hey, if they can get the number 1 in the power rankings, hey, that'd be great too, as that could be on the table for next week if they can beat Denver. But right now, the Bengals really showed their dominance last week in beating the 49ers at home by the margin that they did. And this Bengals team is no joke, and they are definitely going to be a factor. I mean, they're going to be a force in the playoffs. That is for sure. As we now move up to number one, well, not much of a surprise, as it's the same team that it's been the past probably month now. It's the New York Giants of Don Tagrocket, who are 11-2 and number one in the NFC. No change from last week as they won at the Chargers 28-24 at a tough place to play, and they just put it on the Chargers. No mercy at all, and have won their last 11 games, which is obviously the highest streak in the league so far this season, and will definitely be the highest, as there will probably be no other shot at getting an 11-game winning streak this year for anybody else. But next, it'll be a home matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, a division rival. Comes in at 4-9. Now, the G-men just have to keep the momentum going. They're doing a hell of a job right now. Can't really say that they have any issues at all. They've been staying away from the injury bug, and they've just been playing solid Stableford week in and week out, and are well deserving of this number one ranking. And that, folks, is going to do it. That's the top 30. That's the 32 teams in the NFL Stableford League ranked from number 32 to number one for the week after week 14. I want to thank you for joining me this week for the NFL Stableford League Power Rankings show. This has been Lefty79, the commissioner of the NFL Stableford League, thanking you for being here today and joining me for this show. Good luck to all the teams this week. Once again, we do have an opening in the league. If anybody is interested, the Chicago Bears are available as of this recording, but they may not be once I leave this recording. So we'll find out. But once again, it's the New York Football Giants at number one. Thanks again for watching, and take care, everybody. We'll see you down the road.